I would like to talk about Google's ban on third-party recording apps on the Play Store.
Yeah. Whoa.
Hold on. I want your knee-jerk reaction. Knee-jerk reaction.
Bad.
Gut reaction.
Bad.
Bad.
My gut reaction is bad. Sorry? Say again?
Why? Why?
I would throw exactly that right back at you. Why?
Oh, okay. So now the burden of proof is on me.
No, why would you remove it? There are a lot of places where it's only one person is required to consent to the recording of a call. Like genuinely extremely large amounts of places, you only have to have one person required to consent to recording of a call.
Does the legality of single party consent make it right?
I don't know, but like why would they remove it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about. Man, I was reading a really interesting
what if you want to record a call and so I think what you were just talking about is like, does the legality of it make it not morally okay? Well, I think there's scenarios where you would want to record something and the person that is being recorded would not give you consent, but you are still in the right to get this thing recorded. But there's also situations where it'd be very bad to record someone without their consent, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a crazy rabbit hole that I don't really want to go down. But completely removing the functionality of two people both consenting to being recorded, being able to record their call is just like, why? Why would you do that? I don't get it. And like, if you're a big company or something like that, you're going to find a way to record your phone calls regardless. So like if you're super nefarious, if you're like really trying to do like bad, evil things by recording phone calls, you're going to find a way to record that phone call regardless. Spoiler alert, it's incredibly easy. You don't need one of these apps. So like all you're really stopping is extreme laymen, which in a lot of those situations, I feel like they would have consent on both sides. So I don't really get the point. If someone's actually trying to like do something planned out that's like really not good, they're going to find the extremely obvious ways to do this without one of these apps.
Okay. I read a really interesting article before the WAN show today that was not about tech at all. It was about front license plates.
Okay.
The arguments for front license plates. Well, first let's start with the arguments against front license plates. They make your car look subjectively uglier. Okay, that's one of the big ones. And privacy advocates argue that front license plates make it much easier to track the comings and goings of the greater populace and create models that could anticipate their move, or that could monitor and then anticipate their movements. These are the arguments for the removal of front license plates. All right. The arguments for maintaining front license plates are taxation revenue. So obviously this is an argument that's made at like a government level, not to individual users, or not taxation, but ticketing revenue, right? As well as
you also have to buy the plate, right? So I think it's
law
a little
enforcement.
bit of both.
Well, hold on, we're getting there. Hold on. These are the arguments for why we should keep them. And basically it's better law enforcement. So easier to track down a vehicle when you can identify it both coming and going.
So that's the pro and the con.
Increased government revenue from more accurate law enforcement, essentially, really. But then what's great is that this org, front license plate, I forget what it was called, like front license plate orgs of some sort, is actually owned by 3M, who is one of the largest license plate manufacturers in the U.S.
Lobbying, yeah,
right. So here is why I think that this article was really interesting and applicable to what we're talking about now. This privacy versus utility sort of, whose privacy is more important, okay? The privacy of someone on the other end of the line who may or may not have given consent, where the laws may or may not exist to protect that person, right? Is that person's privacy a priority? Why does the law necessarily matter? And if that person's privacy isn't a priority, well, what about the non-privacy rights of whoever it is who is recording the call that might be violated, right? Like maybe the person who wants to record this call shouldn't give like two shit about the privacy of their employer who is breaking the law by coercing them into working unpaid hours or whatever the case may be. You know, two wrongs don't make a right, I guess, or do they? Or like, whose right is more important? And I think that the only conclusion we can really come to here is that legality aside, from an ethical standpoint, this is an extremely gray area. Recording
sure.
conversations with people.
Yeah, because there's going to be times where people are doing it to protect themselves, and there's going to be times where people are doing it to attack other people. Sure. Okay, gray area.
Yeah. So then, knowing how gray it is, here's what I'll say. If I'm Google, here's why I made this move. And I don't know why Google actually did this. Okay. They state this update is specifically targeted apps that allow audio recordings, but that don't notify the person on the other end. So if I'm Google, this is a cover my ass move. I don't want to suddenly be held liable when someone does use a non-notifying call recording app to do something nefarious. And so your question was why? Why did they do this? And I think they're just covering their butts. I don't think it's about legality. I don't think it's about ethics. I think it's about the lawyers being like, hey, this could be a problem at some point. And I think it's that simple. That's my take. And I know it took me a really long time to get there. I'm not running on much sleep.
Yeah. Google, I'm looking into it right now. Someone, M. Kirsch. Sorry, I probably just butchered that name. But they let me know that Google apparently has call recording built in. And it looks like you can. On an Android device, open the Voice app. At the top left, tap the hamburger button and click on Settings. And then under Calls, turn on Incoming Call options, and then you have the option to record a call. To start recording, tap 4. Okay, so with their recording thing, all participants will hear an announcement that the recording has begun. I wonder if you can start the recording before the person has picked up. I don't know. Interesting.
I doubt it. I would think it would be a little smarter than that. And honestly, like in some cases, there are situations where I wouldn't want the other party to know that I'm recording the call, because as soon as they know that I'm recording the call, they're not going to engage in whatever unethical or illegal
you can
behavior.
extremely easily do that, like I already brought up. Like banning these apps doesn't stop people from recording calls. Yeah.
It does. Well, here's what it does do, is it does lower the barrier to entry. It's kind of like apps that have permissions that don't allow you to screen capture them, you know, like a password app that doesn't allow, like obviously you can get around it by just taking a picture of the screen of the phone with another device. But what it does is it increases the barrier to entry for, you know, casual miscreants, I guess is what I would say.
Right. Yeah.
The topmost dog in Twitch says call recording should be an accessibility feature. I use it because I have memory consolidation issues and often need to refer back to a call recording to take notes. 100%. I'm on the same page. Like if I just could have a setting on my phone that's just like, just record every conversation that I have, I would just use that.
Whenever I have calls with people at work, if they're like, hey, can Floatplane make this new thing? I'll have a call with them. I'll ask them right away if I can record it and just record the entire thing, because like they'll mention like some random feature that they want, and like if I don't document it perfect, and then you have to understand that you're doing that phone call game to yourself when you're trying to document that stuff, because unless you type it exactly the way that they worded it, you might write it down in a slightly different way than they intended, and then you hand that to a developer or whoever else, and they interpret it in a slightly different way again, and then you're so many layers of abstraction from the original ask, and it makes it complicated. So I like recording calls as well, but again, I ask people, I'm pretty sure we're in single party consent here in BC, but I still ask people because it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's just polite. except for situations where it's not about politeness. It's about,
Right.
your landlord admitting that they're rent-evicting you, or that they're evicting you because of the color of your skin or something.
Then you want to
needing that evidence.
Yeah,
which obviously they're not going to say if they know you're recording it.
Yeah.
I mean, with that said, it's amazing how many like obviously recorded, like where the phone is just clearly in plain view, recordings there are on the internet of people acting like absolute pieces of human garbage.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
fact that
there's a court case of one of those going on right now, but that's a totally different can of worms. The oh man, what's his name? Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh, that whole thing.
That's crazy.
Oh, good
I don't
Lord.
want to get into that. I don't know anywhere near enough. It took me a while to remember their names. I don't want to get into this. It's just I know there's a bunch of like recordings of conversations in that.
Oh yeah, I'm as far as I can tell, they're both going nuclear option, and just like, well, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Apparently, just that neither of them are going to emerge from this looking good.
I have no idea. I've not been following it. I don't know. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and thanks to Secretlab for sponsoring this week's clips. Secretlab chairs are engineered to keep you comfy, and with up to 5 years of warranty and a 49-day return policy, you're covered if anything goes wrong. Head to the link in the description to get your Secretlab chair today.